Everyone. This is my seventh episode of my podcast, Weird Sports Show, hosted by me, Nick Fouts. With the NHL playoffs rolling and the first round living up to the hype, I wanted to talk about some of the weirdest NHL injuries as well as my second round predictions. So let's dive in. Hockey culture has always been talked about as like one of the best cultures in sports, and injuries always pop up after the playoffs, but guys just normally play through them. They're not a lot of guys on the injury report during the playoffs, which is, that's the debate between the NBA and NHL. It's like, oh, the NBA guys are more injured than the NHL guys. It's like, well, the NHL guys just play through it more. And they're normally different injuries, and that's just how their culture is. The hockey culture is very different than the NBA culture, but they're great in their both own ways. The injuries often happen in hockey, but most guys just go to the locker room right away, and then get like taped up. Guys are playing with like 8 stitches, like in their like they have to get 8 stitches in their face because they get cut by like a blade. Like it's crazy. But they either play through and they're right back on the ice, or they go to the locker room and you don't really see them. They're not really like on the ice, like agonizing in pain very much. But I will say, looking into all these weird injuries, a lot of them are off ice, and there's just some whack ones, and they're really funny. And so I want to kind of dive into that. In November of 2025, Jack Hughes, who ended up scoring the winning goal for the U.S. in the Olympic gold medal game dramatically, he injured his hand at a team dinner in Chicago with the New Jersey Devils, and he was out for several weeks. It ended up being about like 6 weeks. But he injured his hand he cut his hand on glass, of all things, and had to have surgery on his finger in New York, and it was a really big deal because it kind of set back the Devils. They didn't really recover in time for the playoffs. But he had a great season, and it didn't really affect him, but it was really funny. Not funny, but like it was a very weird injury that happened to him. And, he and his brother Quinn, became very, very famous after the Olympic gold medal game and stuff, and became arguably some of the most famous NHL brothers in the world and stuff. And he became a household name, and he had one of the weirder starts to the season of anyone. And he ended up, reportedly being out for 6 weeks, but it ended up working out for him. He had somewhat of a breakout season, and now everyone knows who he is. He's a very household name now, and alongside his brother. In 2008, Joe Sakic, the legendary Avs captain, who won 2 cups with the Avs, ended up injuring his hand while trying to repair a snowblower back in 2008. He was trying to fix it, and it just gave out on him, and he had to get surgery and repair 3 broken fingers. And he had a damaged tendon in his hand as well, and he had so many injuries later in his career. It was at the tail end of his career, and as most guys do, especially if you played that much hockey. And he only ended up playing 15 games in that 2008 season, and later had to retire after the season. Not just because of the snowblower injury, but that definitely contributed to it, unfortunately. But not the greatest ending to a career, but he had a legendary career in Hockey Hall of Famer, but that's one of the weirder injuries that he will be known for as well. Also in 2008, another former Colorado Avalanche defenseman, Eric Johnson, who played for the St. Louis Blues at the time. He was a 2006 number 1 first overall pick. He tore 2 ligaments in his right knee when his foot got caught trying to stop his golf cart, and ended up missing the entire 2008-2009 season because he had to have surgery, and he missed the whole season because he tried to stop a golf cart, of all things. Crazy. But yeah, he ended up missing the entire season. It was in his second year in the league, or I guess third year in the league, and it probably messed up a little bit of his development. Definitely set him back. But he ended up having a great career and won a cup in 2022 with the Avs and retired last year. And now he's on TV and killing it, obviously. But definitely one of the weirder injuries, jumping out of a golf cart, trying to stop your golf cart and ended up getting injured. So another weird one. In 2007, Brett Sopel of the Vancouver Canucks, the defenseman, he missed the entire playoff run because he threw out his back reaching for a cracker, of all things. And with back injuries, simple things can just set it off. Simple like everyday tasks can just injure it for a long time, and it can act up in the weirdest everyday things. And I guess a cracker was the reason he missed the entire playoffs for the Canucks in 2007 that year. So all these weird injuries, they don't make any sense, and they had real consequences. And hockey, these guys couldn't actually play through it. That's how bad and severe they were. But I'm going to start with my second round predictions real quick as we wrap up the podcast episode. I'm going to start in the East with the series that's already started. Game 2 is going on right now. I believe the Hurricanes are down 2-1 to the Flyers at home. 2-1 in the second. And I think the Canes will win in 6, and watch because they've been there before. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last couple years. They have the experience. The Flyers don't. But the Flyers are very scrappy, and they want to fight. And the Hurricanes play a certain way that's not that, but they are very physical as well. And I think it's going to be a tough series, but I think the Hurricanes pull through. I really like their team and their environment, and I think they move on. Staying in the East, the Sabres and Canadiens, I think it's going to be a war. The Sabres in 7 is what I got. I just really like, I really love their atmosphere. Buffalo fans are awesome. They're so crazy, and I think they're just building off the confidence of beating Boston in 6, but beating Boston for their first series win since 2007, I believe, which is crazy. And they hadn't been in the playoffs in 15 years as well. So it's been a historic year. I really like Tage Thompson, and I think their whole team is very solid. It's going to be a war. Both teams are relatively young, so it'll be really fun to watch. But I got the Sabres in 7. Now on the West, the Ducks and Knights start their series tonight. I got the Knights in 7. I think another war of a series. I like the Golden Knights, their experience, and they have one of the best, if not the best, home ice in the league. T-Mobile's crazy. It's very rocking. It's all the entertainment. It's insane. It's Las Vegas in a nutshell. The Knights, I think their Stanley Cup championship experience really helps them in this series. The Ducks are young, relatively young, some of their guys. They have a good mix. And they beat the Oilers, which was an upset, and I was surprised by. But the Knights, I think they pull it off. I think, it'll be really interesting. Both teams were in relatively long series, so we'll see how healthy they are. But I think Knights in 7. I really like Eichel, Mark Stone, and they're getting Carlson back, who hasn't played since November. So that'll be a big boost for them. And for the last series, my favorite series and my personal favorite team, Colorado Avalanche, I got the Avs in 6 against the Wild. They just won Game 1 last night in the craziest game I've ever watched, 9-6. Crazy, 15 combined goals. Unreal. And I just like the Avs depth. I think they're both pretty similar But I think the Avs championship experience, and they're a little bit healthier, knock on wood, they're a little bit healthier, and I just think McKinnon and Makar are just unstoppable. And I don't think the Wild can do anything with that. So that's it for my Weird Sports Show, and I've signed off today. Thanks for listening, and like and subscribe. The channel is growing, weirdos.